Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me congratulate all the nominees on their nominations and their willingness to serve. We appreciate that. Ambassador Yovanovitch, let me start at the outset by acknowledging and thanking you for your 22 years of very distinguished service to our country. I appreciate your service. In your opening statement, you acknowledged the mass killings, ethnic cleansing, and forced detentions that devastated over 1.5 million Armenians at the end of the Ottoman Empire. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct. It's the administration's policy to acknowledge these historical facts.
Would you agree with the characterization? If I may, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to be referring to a series of documents, so if I could give the ambassador a copy of them so she can have them in front of her, that would be helpful. And I'd ask unanimous consent that these documents be included in the record.
Without objection, documents will be included in the record.
I would ask you, would you agree with the characterization by President Bush on April 24th, 2004, which is the first reference item before you, where he says, and I quote, "On this day we pause in remembrance of one of the most horrible tragedies of the 20th century, the annihilation of as many as 1.5 million Armenians through forced exile and murder at the end of the Ottoman Empire." Would you agree with that? I just need a yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Would you agree that the use of the words ethnic cleansing, which you used in your opening statement, would include the deliberate inflicting on a group of conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part? Would you agree that that's what generally ethnic cleansing would be defined as?
There's no question.
The deliberate, let me read it again, say it again to you so you got it before you answer. The deliberate inflicting on a group of individuals of conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part.
The question that you're asking, and I hope you understand my answer, the determination of that is a policy decision that I'm not authorized to make right now. It's a decision for the administration, the president, and the secretary.
I respect your answer. I'm not asking you what is the policy or a policy. I'm simply asking you use the words in your opening statement, ethnic cleansing. And I'm asking you a simple question. Would you describe ethnic cleansing as a deliberate inflicting on a group of individuals conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part? And if the answer is no, then tell me what you mean by ethnic cleansing.
There's no question that at the end of the Ottoman Empire, there was mass murder, there was starvation, there were deliberate rapes, there was forced exile. 1.5 million Armenians.
And is that what you describe as your definition of ethnic cleansing? Those facts?
Yes.
You look at the document that is referenced as number 2 there, which says these are documents that I'm going to be referring to by American officials in a time in history. And I would ask you whether the statement by then U.S. Ambassador Morgenthau, who wrote on July 16, 1915, it appears that a campaign of race extermination is in progress under a pretext of reprisal against rebellion. Is that a fact that you would agree with, as reported, as a historical fact that Ambassador Morgenthau reported?
Yes, it's certainly a fact here, as I'm reading off of this handout that you gave me, that Ambassador Morgenthau reported this.
Okay. Would you look at number 3, where it says, where U.S. Consul in Aleppo, Jesse Jackson, reported to Ambassador Morgenthau on June 5, 1915, that it is without doubt a carefully planned scheme to thoroughly extinguish the Armenian race. Is that what Councilor Jackson said in his statement to Ambassador Morgenthau?
Yes, according to the document that you have.
And number 4, where U.S. Counsel in Harcourt, Leslie Davis, reported to Ambassador Morgenthau on July 24, 1915, quote, "It has been no secret that the plan was to destroy the Armenian race as a race, but the method used has been more cold-blooded and barbarous, if not more effective than I had first supposed." Is that the statement issued then by the Council?
Yes, as I'm reading this.
And finally, on number 5, where the U.S. Ambassador to the Ottoman Empire from 1916 to 1917, Abram Elkas, telegraphed the Secretary of State on October 17, 1960, and said, quote, "In order to avoid a program of the civilized world, which the continuation of massacres would arouse, Turkish officials have now adopted and are executing the unchecked policy of extermination through starvation, exhaustion, and the brutality of treatment hardly surpassed even in Turkish history." Is that the statement that was issued at that time by the U.S. Ambassador?
Yes, as I'm reading.
Thank you. Now, the final reference I want you to look at is number 6. And would you agree that Article 2 of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, of which the United States is a signatory party to and ratified, a copy of which I have before you, states under Article 2, "In the present convention, genocide means any of the following acts committed with the intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. As such, killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part." Is that a fair statement of the reading of Article 2 of the Convention? Is that a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Therefore, and I was trying to go indulgent, but therefore, would not the facts that you acknowledge, and please listen to my question, would not the facts that you acknowledge in your opening statement and those facts that you have recognized as historical facts during the period of 1915 to 1923 meet the definition of Article 2 that I just had to read?
It's certainly true that this is a definition of genocide here. And I'm familiar enough with the record to have read some of the accounts from our embassy and our consulate at the end of the Ottoman Empire, which are truly shocking in terms of scale and the individual stories of individual families and things that happen. It's the responsibility and the duty of embassies and consulates to inform and represent honestly, faithfully, objectively to the department, to Washington, to the president. And it is the president, it is the Secretary of State that makes the policy, that makes the determination of how to characterize particular events.
And I am not asking you for a declaration of policy. I have not even asked you about a maybe more ultimate question. What I'm asking you, as a career Forest Service officer, well-educated, with a lot of experience, with the facts, as recognized by President Bush in public statements, recognized by you in your opening statement, and in terms of the historical documents that I presented to you, would those facts fall in line? Clearly you mentioned the killing of members of the group. You mentioned murder in your opening statement. That's killing members of the group, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Would it not be fair to say, in furtherance of some of the questions I asked you, and I think you very appropriately answered, some of the acts that took place, not only the murders, rapes, forced deportation of people, or forced exile of people, would that not clearly be causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group?
Yes.
And clearly it would also be deliberately inflicting on a group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. Obviously those who were murdered in mass numbers from one tribe to another. Obviously those who were exiled, obviously those who other actions were taking place. That would fall into that category or not.
It's a policy decision, sir.
I want to thank you for honest answers. Mr. Chairman, if I may, and I appreciate your indulgence. I will have a series of other questions for the record. I don't want to delay. But what is going on here is a shame that career foreign service officers have to be brought before the committee and find difficulty in acknowledging historical facts, and find difficulty in acknowledging the realities of what has been internationally recognized, Mr. Chairman. Not because I say I don't hold myself out to be that type of a scholar. But the fact is that the International Association of Genocide Scholars, the preeminent authority on genocide, has unanimously, not equivocated, unanimously declared the Armenian genocide a genocide. And it is amazing to me that we can talk about millions, 1.5 million human beings who were slaughtered. We can talk about those who were raped. We can talk about those who were forcibly pushed out of their country. And we can have presidential acknowledgments of that. But then we cannot call it what it is. It is a ridiculous dance that the administration is doing over the use of the term genocide. It is an attempt to suggest that we don't want to strain our relationships with Turkey. But I have to say, the fact that we are sending off our diplomats in such a manner that they are not able to recognize a historical event that is clearly documented by credible, objective historians, an event that is so tragic, an event that the recognition of which is so personal for millions of Armenians and descendants of Armenians, many of whom are Americans, is also something that I think is detrimental to our foreign policy. Mr. Chairman, we have actually had the U.S. ambassador to our former U.S. ambassador to Armenia attend every year in April the commemoration of the Armenian genocide. It's amazing that we sent a U.S. ambassador to the commemoration of an Armenian genocide, which I would hope that if your nomination is ultimately approved by the Senate, that you would commit yourself to attend. And yet, we cannot. How do you go to a commemoration of the Armenian genocide and never ever use the recognition of that fact? I believe acknowledging historical facts as they are is a principle that is easily understood both at home and abroad. So while the administration believes that this posture benefits us vis-a-vis our relationship with Turkey, I think they should also recognize that it hurts our relationship elsewhere, and it tarnishes the United States' history of being a place where truth is spoken to power. An acknowledgement of our failures of the past made us stronger, not weaker. Recognizing the evils of the past do not trap us or this us free. That is what I hope we can be able to achieve, Mr. Chairman. I have great admiration for Ambassador Yovanovitch. She is the designate and having to respond to the questions. And as I told her privately, I would be pursuing a line of questioning. I appreciate her attempt to be as frank and open as possible. Mr. Chairman, if you have a second, I have a different set of questions for you. Thank you. Finally, I'd like to ask each of the nominees, do you feel the United States should apologize to foreign governments when Congress speaks out on matters of human rights? If you would just give an answer to that.
If the United States government should apologize to the people, to the government of Russia, the Congress,
each of your countries, should we feel compelled to apologize to to foreign governments when Congress speaks on matters of human rights?
No. I agree with the same answer.
No.
No.
No, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr.